race is looking solid right now, but I do think we need to push harder if we want to stay competitive. Here's the report.
So what is up, everybody? Welcome once again to my YouTube channel, and today we are proceeding with our F1 2016 career mode. We are still in the Manor, and today we are going to the Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix. And we just saw a little chart there that told us that McLaren are getting a little bit away from us in terms of performance, but that is due to both upgrades they brought, as well as Scuderia Toro Rosso having 3 upgrades for their car. So they are looking to be very, very competitive into this weekend's Grand Prix.
Good afternoon, race fans, and here we are again for qualifying at the Hungary. Who will have tuned the perfect setup for their car? We'll find out soon.
So starting as always with Q1, we just got out there and just did this lap, this banker lap, which we got a 122.8, and I was quite satisfied with it because it got us out of Q1. As you can see, we got 13th place, but our teammate got 18th. So it didn't get out of Q1, which didn't happen in quite a few races. Or qualifying sessions, I should say. So diving into our Q2 time, I managed to improve on my previous lap, but still not by as big of a margin as I was expecting. I only pulled off a 122.7, and that did not allow me to improve my position on the grid. So still P13, which, well, at least I'm regular in my position during this qualifying session, but well, it could have been worse, so it's a nice base for a promising Grand Prix.
We've seen some astonishing Grand Prix here over the years, haven't we? The drama of 2015 is a recent example. Jenson Button's first win on a wet track in 2006, or in 1997, Damon Hill's heartbreak in the Arrows after a late gearbox failure cost him what would have been the team's only ever victory. What a wonderful place this is to come racing today. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungary Ring are steeped in history and prestige. Overtaking has always been difficult on this technical 2.7-mile circuit, but the last few years in particular have turned up some exceptional races. Let's hope we're in for another one here today. With me to enjoy it all is Anthony Davidson, a man who made his Grand Prix debut here with Minardi back in 2002. So, Ant, this is a bit of a special one for you, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'd say so. I also stood in to commentate on Jenson's win in 2006, and as I was a test driver for Honda at the time, you can imagine that was quite an emotional Grand Prix. It's also a tough circuit on the drivers, this one too. Lots of long, slow corners that require a lot of patience from inside the car. Plus, it's a very downforce heavy circuit. I mean, it's all relative, of course, but if you're lacking a bit in downforce, or if you've got a bit of an imbalance in the setup, this is definitely one of the worst places to have to deal with that.
Keep your eyes open on the run to turn 1 and keep it clean. We want to come out in one piece. Good luck.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Rosberg, Raikkonen, Sebastian Vettel and Massa, Bottas, Ricciardo, Button, Kvyat, Hülkenberg and Manor, Romain Grosjean and Alonso, Perez, Sainz, Esteban Gutierrez and Pascal Wehrlein, Magnussen and Ericsson, Felipe Nasser and Jolyon Palmer rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
As we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, lights out, and away we go for the Hungarian Grand Prix, as we have a really great start compared to everyone around us, as we go right through Kvyat, my rival for now, and we dive on the inside of Bottas, and Ricciardo gets the inside line into turn 1. We actually managed to overtake Vettel, and Raikkonen has contact with Massa and thus gets a poor start. So we go from P13 into P5 in only one corner. A great start for us, as we will now have some replays from this one will be from Kevin Magnussen in the Renault, who is starting on the soft tires. He's a little bit held up by the slow starter of Esteban Gutierrez, and he will find himself in a Sauber sandwich coming into the braking zone of turn 1 as Ericsson dives on the inside of him. So he tries to get out of that sandwich as our teammate gets slammed into the side of Gutierrez as Ericsson picks the right side. Magnussen picks the inside line of turn 2 and actually gets side by side with Gutierrez, but cannot make a move stick on the Mexican driver. We're now following the Brazilian Felipe Massa as he gets a really great start compared to Vettel at his left, and is now approaching very fast to the front runners as Max Verstappen got a really poor start compared to everybody else, and he actually goes on the outside of Raikkonen as Raikkonen has a little bit of contact and loses the position to the Brazilian. So a really good start for the Williams driver as well, as we are now in lap 3, and as you can see, Hamilton has already pulled quite a considerable gap for the rest of us, as we are coming under huge pressure from both the Ferrari's drivers, and we overstep our boundaries a little bit too much, and the car didn't like it. We nearly lose the back end of it, a little bit of contact with Raikkonen, and we find ourselves in a Ferrari sandwich as we approach turn 1. Under braking, we are the latest of the late breakers and manage to hold on to our P4. Now skipping into lap 10, some of the front runners who started on the super softs are now making their pit stops. It was Hamilton this time around, followed by Verstappen, and as you can see from this camera angle, Hamilton is already coming out of the pits by the time we approach them, and it will slot right behind both Ferrari drivers. As we are now in lap 13, Vettel is already pitted, and Raikkonen is now being very pressurized by Lewis Hamilton, who has much fresher tires, much better rubber on his tires, and so goes around on the outside of turn 4, which turns into the inside of turn 5, and an easy maneuver for the world champion to get ahead into P3, I believe. So in lap 15, it's now my turn to being attacked by the fast charging Lewis Hamilton, who gets a very easy maneuver as he inherits the lead of the Grand Prix as Massa dives into the pits as well. So we are now in lap 16, and we are being pressurized by Alonso coming out of nowhere, and look at how close his front wing was to our rear tires, as he will have DRS down the main straight. I cover the inside line, he tries to outbrake me, but that is not possible this time around, as I outbrake him and hold the inside line, nearly losing the back end of the car, as the car really does not like the exit of turn 2, but we managed to hold on to our position. Now in lap 19, I ask my teammate about Massa's pace, and he just posted a 125.8, and my best time is 1.26.5, and I'm already 4/10 down of my best lap. Only in the first sector, Massa gains to me 1.8 seconds, so it was very soon until Massa caught up to the back of me and is now filling my mirrors as we go on the run up into turn 4. As he tries the inside line, I gave him the space required, but as you may saw in the mirrors, it was quite close to disaster. As you can see, just look how close it was. A nice display of car control for the Brazilian driver, but still a very reckless move from him. As we are now in the same lap, just completing lap 22, I believe I said earlier, and we are still under pressure from not only the Brazilian, but also Sebastian Vettel, and both will get side by side with me coming into the braking zone of turn 1. I'm the latest of the late breakers once again and managed to go side by side with Massa, but he has better traction as well as the DRS to get side by side with me once again into turn 2. I tried to make a move around the outside, which turns into the inside of turn 3, and that time I gave him the space, but he still did not have enough road to keep side by side with me as we make our defensive moves stick. We are now in lap 23, starting lap 24 in fact, and Massa is still pressurizing us. So once again, he will have the DRS, he's trying to catch my slipstream and try to get as much of a slingshot as he can. But once again, we outbrake him into turn 1, inside line once again, and we are side by side with the Brazilian. We are having a nice duel with the Williams driver right now, as we are still side by side coming into turn 2. A little tap of his front wing in my left rear, but he gets a better exit due to his fresher rubber out of turn 3, and he goes the outside this time around of turn 4. And it looks like he spun out. There are yellow flags, and I think he tagged someone along with him, and that will bring out the safety car. And so let's just see on the replays what effectively happens as we look on the onboard of Vettel. As he tries to rejoin the track, Massa collects Nico Rosberg and sends them both spinning. They are facing the wrong direction now, and that brought out the safety car, which I take advantage of to go into the pits and trade this old set of softs into another set of softs, as I will try for another 25 laps, I believe, in this set of softs. Yeah, it might even last a little bit longer because, well, we will start at least our first 2 laps of this thing behind the safety car. So we'll rejoin the race in P6 behind the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo. And so at the end of this lap we have green flag racing as we try to get a better exit out of the last corner than our most close competitor, as we try to take advantage of the slipstream effect, and we go very late and very hard on the brakes. And not only we overtake Daniel Ricciardo, we also do a lunging maneuver on Rosberg and actually get 2 cars in 1 corner there. So we are now in lap 31, and we have caught up to Alonso and Verstappen. We are battling it out for second position, and as you can see, I posted the fastest first sector of the race, but I was not expecting Alonso to be that slow into turn 5 or 6, and I managed to tap him in the rear and get his 3rd place. So we are now in lap 32, and we have yellow flags. For some reason it is Valtteri Bottas who is out of the race, and later in the same lap we also get notified that Esteban Gutierrez is out of the race. So checking the Finnish driver first, he had engine failure coming down the main straight, which is followed by the Mexican driver ruining his engine as well in a very spectacular fashion in these camera shots, which was pretty nice. So we get into lap 35, no safety cars brought out from the earlier incidents, but it is now Alonso charging on our outside, and we managed to hold on to his attack, but that gives the opportunity for the Australian driver to get a position on Alonso. Even though we are now still under attack from Ricciardo, he is on the medium compound tires, and we get notified that Nico Rosberg is out of the race. So a bad day gone towards us. It is the 2nd retirement in a row for the German driver of the Mercedes. As you can see, he was in 16th place, I believe, at the time. He was stuck behind our teammate's car, and that brought out the safety car. And we take advantage of said safety car to dive into the pits and trade this old set of softs into, I believe, another set of super softs. yeah, it will be another set of super softs, and I believe I will be able to do 15 laps at least on this one, so I can make another 15 laps on another set of super softs. So we come out of the pits with a fairly slow pit stop, 2.9 seconds, but we come out behind Magnussen. So those tenths, those extra tenths in the pit lane were crucial because being behind Magnussen is not the most optimal of cases, as I take this opportunity to show you guys the race director. So Lewis Hamilton followed by Verstappen and Raikkonen. Pascal Wehrlein is in the P5, I believe, from P15 just before the safety car, and Sebastian Vettel is in last position. Sebastian Vettel having a very poor day. I don't know what happened with the German driver, but is having a very, very bad day, as we now go for green flag racing out of the last corner to end lap 41, and we'll surely get the upper hand on Magnussen, as we have faster tires than him, fresher tires than him, and we also have the slipstream as we dive just like we did on the previous restarts, and we also get 2 cars in the span of 1 corner as well, as we are now charging on the back of Wehrlein. As we are now into the last sector, I make a diving maneuver on my teammate who is in aging soft tires, and just battling with my teammate and Marcus Ericsson cost me a couple of seconds to the front runners, so I'm trying to make up time as quickly as possible, as I have Ericsson right on my face right now, as I'm going side by side with him, as DRS is not available just yet. I do a diving maneuver on him and get the inside line and get P4 as well. So right now we are trying to make as much time as quickly as we can to Raikkonen, but we are consistently in the 3.5 second gap. I was not able to get it lower, so I opted to dive into the pits at lap 51, I believe. So I maybe try some sort of undercut if they are going to stop again. And this time around it was a much better pit stop, 2.3 seconds, which helps me rejoin P10 right behind of the Toro Rosso of Carlos Sainz, who I am going to pressurize coming out of the last corner in lap 52. This time around I have DRS, but Sainz also has DRS, so I need to do a diving maneuver once again, challenging both Sainz and Magnussen for the points paying positions. But I'm not done here. I'm going side by side with the Russian of the Toro Rosso, Daniel Kvyat, and I just do him around the outside of turn 2. No chance of defense for the Toro Rosso driver. And right now going into turn 4, I'm closing very rapidly on the back end of Nico Hülkenberg, and I dive on him into turn 5 or 6, I'm not sure, but Kvyat on the background there with a very opportunistic move, making up a position as well. We are now in lap 54, and we are now trying to catch up to Perez, as Daniel Ricciardo is out of the race. The Australian who had his fair of action in the race, he was having a very good race, sadly has to retire due to an engine failure, which is quite odd that so many cars are having engine failures, because we spent lots of time under the safety car, so the engine couldn't be that much stressed out. But well, these things happen sometimes, as I do a diving maneuver on Sergio Perez for his 5th position, I believe. But now coming into lap 63, I believe there are some cars in the pits, but our teammate Pascal Wehrlein is retiring, and this proves crucial, as we have the fast charging Fernando Alonso, who essentially did the same thing as us. He just pitted for super softs a little bit later, so he has not only fresher tires than me, but he has fresher tires than everybody else, and actually in only 2 laps made his way through the field from P10 up to me, and he is at least like 6 laps fresher tires than me, I believe. And we are going from his T-cam, as he goes on the slipstream of me. But take a look at the left hand side, because of the retirement of our teammate. It is yellow flags in the sector 1, or at least in the approach to this corner, and he overtook me. He is clearly ahead of me while inside of the yellow flags. So I was expecting him to let me overtake him, because I think it is an illegal overtake, but the game did not think so. So yeah, we could not fight with Alonso. We had a much higher pace, but we come home to finish the Hungarian Grand Prix in P5, a well-deserved P5. I'm very, very satisfied with my pace throughout the race.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
And here are our podium drivers today after that excellent race. They've excelled here, as they so often do, and it's a well-deserved victory. Mercedes, then, are on top today. And after this round of...
So yeah, just taking a look at the race results, it was Lewis Hamilton winning the Grand Prix, followed by Max Verstappen and Kimi Räikkönen closing the podium positions, as we got 5th place once again, Fernando Alonso not having any penalties for overtaking me under yellow flags, which I think is not right. Cody's could patch this. I honestly believe it was an illegal overtake. But yeah, these things happen sometimes. Stewards are going to be stewards. But, well, who tested this game? So just getting our resource points here, and we got a fair amount of them, and we already have plus 1,500 of them. As we, in our rivalry update, we are drawing with our rival, well, the Russian Daniel Kvyat, since he destroyed me in qualifying, but I wrecked him in the race. So, yeah, just going into my laptop, and I will just show you guys the standings of the championship. I lost a couple of points to Fernando Alonso, who I was trying to catch up, but I'm still in top 10, overtaking Carlos Sainz for such place. And, well, next time out, I think it will be the German Grand Prix. I've never driven in that. I've only had F1 2011 before F1 2016, so I've never driven on this year's German track. So I hope it will be a fun one. So I'm counting you guys to be there. Have a nice day.